to my surprise, that ABA schools now do this. So it's, I guess I'm just yielding a little bit, not in an unlimited way.
And by this,
modern trend.
when you say they do this, you mean they offer not just the subject matter like real property, and these are the kind of things on the bar exam, so let's look at those. You're talking about specific classes in ABA accredited law schools on preparing to take the bar exam during the law school.
Yeah, apparently they're doing that. I did not know that until we entered into this discussion at CS Bars.
I'd like to get Natalie's take on everything we do, but I certainly would like to get your take on this, because this is a little like, what?
So, I too remember finishing law school and then taking bar brief before taking the bar exam. And actually under this, it's contemplated, and there are many that I took, but that's what I took. And it's probably expected that will still happen just the way that you remember. But what also is there now, our schools have grown in-house, or also can purchase through a number of providers, skills courses that are specifically test-related prep courses, practice in multiple choice, practice in being clear in writing, special practice for English language learners to help with the clarity of their writing, getting ready for exams. Some schools particularly want that. And how you might see that in action might be, for example, what we heard today from Peoples, several years in a row had a 0% first year. When they added an in-house first year prep class, their pass rate went up from 0 to 38.5% in one semester. And you met a lot of those passers today. Another example would have been Lincoln, Sacramento. When you looked at their total NPR number, while that's an accredited school, they had a required program. They stopped the required program. And when they did, that's when their bar prep slid. Those students were required to do prep without. And they did a study regarding the time period when it was not required, and they were able to very clearly see the larger percentage of that optional course that they completed, the better those students did on the bar exam. So that's the sort of thing that we're seeing today. And technology helps that too, because people can take some of this prep course in a classroom setting, but also in a technology setting.
So the percent limitation that you like limits the amount that can be devoted to this in a law school curriculum?
For which the student can get credit toward their minimum credits to graduate. So 15% of their credits can be used studying for the bar exam. And I think that's the school should be teaching kids how to pass the bar exam.
Part of the way that number emerged was essentially that would be much higher than any school is doing as far as I'm aware. But it covers the elective portion of the curriculum. So someone could replace their standard electives with this, but it would not cut into their doctrinal courses. So that's really a very high, very flexible max at that 15%.
I
There shouldn't
see.
be any reason that a school would want to exceed that. And most schools would probably not approach it.
Okay. If you're, I know you spent a lot more time on this, Paul. If you're supporting it, then now that glad we've talked about it, I will too. But it just, I think I was a little dumbstruck at the outset, but I get it now. Okay.
Yeah, just don't put it all on me.
Well, I am. No, I'm not.
All right.
Okay.
So do we have
Oh, 400.
a motion to approve the rules? And that would be the latest amended version that was returned from the CS Bars meeting on Wednesday, kind of like
Yes,
this.
The red line version.
And Audrey, could you go one slide past that one?
You mean one slide before? Or you want this one, Natalie?
One more, next one. That one.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to take some of the heat off you and I'll make the motion.
Is it attachment B as in boy, not D as in David?
This is the correct one. This morning, Paul asked for a proposed edit, which is in the further move section. Paul, does that
Oh.
reflect?
Yeah, it used to talk about affirming in the further move. And that said to me that somebody else had done something. And of course, we are taking the action. So we should just terminate it rather than affirm somebody else's act that didn't occur.
So previously it affirmed it proposed to affirm the end of the waiver, and that language is
There
modified.
it is.
So that's what it says in your memo.
Uh-huh.
And, so that's what it says in your memo. And then this is what Paul requested this morning.
Yeah, that's that small change I alluded
Okay,
to.
well, that's acceptable to me to bring the motion. And again, Natalie, I didn't mean to put you on the spot on this one, but I appreciate you
Okay, so
bringing me up to speed.
heard
No
Robbie,
problem, we're here as a
Did we-
resource.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Dr. Bolton,
Yes.
Robert Brody,
Yes.
Alex Chan,
He's apparently back on Zoom, so
Yes.
back.
Jim Epstein,
Yes.
Kareem Gangora,
Yes.
Dolores Heisinger,
Yes.
Judge Herman,
Yes.
Larry Kaplan,
Yes.
Alex Lawrence, Esther Lynn, Bethany Peak, Vince Reyes,
Yes.
David Torres, Dr. Wilcoxon, circling back to Alex Chan,
Yes.
the motion passes.
I think you forgot.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Dr. Cow?
Yes.
Okay,
Impossible.
the motion passes.
We're skipping over the administrative updates and the educational standards goals. So the next item is another rule package, the last one from moral character. Folks, action on revisions to the admissions rules pertaining to moral character, recommendation to circulate for public comment and approval of procedures related to moral character. It's 0500. Tara and David, I guess that's yours.
I think this is actually going to start us off, and then we'll.
Yeah, hopefully, unlike the other packages, this wasn't so controversial. And when I first looked at it, I thought, man, it's going to be a piece of cake. But then when we looked at the red lines, it's like every single paragraph had some sort of change in it. So Tara and David and staff really did a really good job on it. And we had a great discussion along with Bill House. I think the take-home message for us is, and they can highlight some of the changes, is the language is much more concise. It's much more streamlined, less repetitive. Certain rules, like just as one example, looking at driver's licenses, we're not going back to when you're 16 years old. It's only like 10 years back. So they really took a lot of things out that really made no sense in this day and age as we're looking at these moral character determinations. So that's, I'll turn it over to Tara and David if they have any.
Any comments before we?
What Vince said, I think the changes were beneficial and they should help the applicants clarify questions that they may have and make the process easier for them, which I think is one of the goals that we have.
Thank you, and I want to thank both of you for your time in helping us with those rules, or the revisions. So I won't repeat everything that's in the agenda item for the sake of time. And I think Donna, Christina, and Kathy laid out, why we're looking at the rules and revising these. Just wanted to call out a couple of things for you. In the rule specifically, rule 4.41C, that is not a new rule. We just pulled it out from A, again, just trying to make it flow better, make a little bit more sense. So that was one comment we had received. And then I just wanted to make sure this made sense as well. For rule 4.42, the duty to update, and rule 4.50, the suspension of a positive moral character determination. So we are trying to close a gap that existed between when an applicant was required to disclose something to us versus when we were actually able to spend their positive moral character determination. So now both of those will be until they have taken the oath to be admitted. And so it just gives us, in those rare instances where we do need to take action, the ability to do so.
No, yeah, there was just a gap there where
we could find out about something. Moral character no longer had, as it were, jurisdiction to do anything, but OCTC didn't either because the person wasn't sworn in yet. And it was the sort of no man's land, so we closed that gap.
And then I think the last thing, or two more things I wanted to call out with the rules specifically. 4.46B, the one regarding informal conferences. We had changed some of the language regarding what applicants will provide, and we just wanted to make it very clear that it's not that we're taking any process away. We're just trying to make it more accurately reflect the informal nature of the proceedings, since it's not a formal proceeding or a trial, and so it's worded a little bit more broadly. And then lastly, on the rules, rule 4.50C. So this is a current practice that we have already that we're putting into rule. We know that the applicants have a continuing duty to update us. However, they don't always do so at their own behest. So we do send out this questionnaire about halfway through that 3-year approval period. And so this is just clarifying another current practice. Anything else on the rules specifically?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, let's stick on 4.50C, but let's first check for public comments.
Okay.
Devin, has anyone raised their hand to comment on these rules?
We do have a raised hand.
Okay, please let that person make their comment.
Todd Hill? Like to comment on the rules risen?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for acknowledging comment. I had earlier comment, but it's been a long day for you all to understand, so I'll keep it short. Some of the rules amendments I think have been rather esoteric in their justification, and there's some real world applications here that really actually do have issues that are present, and I'm really trying to be respectful here. But I want to say that it's really important that people understand that people's lives are affected, that they can hear lots of counsel from folks who really do not understand what historically has happened and is abusive and is a consumer abuse. And so it's very, very critical what you guys do. It's very important. And I appreciate you all for taking the time to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't hear everything you said. Someone else?
No, it was, I don't know if it was a cell phone connection or speaker. Did you have any particular recommendations you wanted to make?
Was I muted? Did you hear me? No.
Yeah, your connection just isn't the greatest. But were you making general comments about the whole process, or did you have some specific?
I've been muted. I cannot. Someone's messing with the sound. Can you hear me?
We hear you. Are you hearing me okay?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay, I will look
Okay,
right.
great. That's much better. Yeah, see,
Okay. So,
wow.
were you making any specific recommendations as to the provisions and the rules, or just speaking more generally to your perception of the process?
Okay, so statutorily, what happens is there should be these processes that exist that allow for certain kinds of appeals or really sort of expedient action. So what has happened with the rules in the 4.5 range is that they're not really complete, in that when you have an issue, you have very little recourse. And that's a lot of the different rule guidelines. Again, I'm going to respect your time. You've been here at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to be kind to the people who let me talk. But I do want to say that these things have real repercussions, and they have rippling repercussions that extend for long periods of time. And so from that perspective, Rule 4.5 particularly can be a critical rule when things have gone wrong in the process for students. Thanks.
Okay, we really were having trouble understanding you, but I encourage you to make, if this rule goes out for public comment, you can make written comments during that process, and at that point we should be able to take your points a little bit more effectively.
Have you seen my prior written comments, sir? I have reams of prior written comment related to 4.5 and its application to my special circumstances. You haven't seen any of that?
These are the ed standards related. It's another topic that has been shared with you under separate cover, but it's not related to this rule.
Oh, it sounds like your comments are not, are they?
Look,
Are they
it's
related?
4.5. I'm affected by 4.52C, I believe specifically. Now, I know you're doing a different subsection, but the commentary is about 4.5. It's on P.
I'm sorry.
So I do understand it may not be about this particular paragraph, but it is on point. And I do have, and I encourage you, and I think you have a duty to go out there and look at the copious amounts of public comment I've submitted, and it's yet to be released.
I'd be happy to direct the committee to those comments, so that you may refresh yourself as to those.
Is it relevant to this rule?
It's not relevant to this rule. It's regarding another.
I sent an email just this morning that's relevant. Now you have a copy of it. It is relevant to this particular rule. I'm not going to make it belabor it again. It's not confusing to this particular paragraph. So
Okay,
again,
well,
I'm not going to push it that way. But I do have tons of comments, and I'd love you guys to look at it.
Okay, well, your time is certainly run by this point. We're just having trouble understanding the words. So we're going to encourage you to make your comments in writing. This is not the end of this process. In a way, it's the beginning, because the committee's being asked to send this out for public comment. And you can, written comments can be much longer than 2 minutes. We encourage them because we can get them in advance of the meeting, and we can also take them in at our own speeds, some, being faster than others. It's just, it seems to work better. But thank you.
Which what you said was true, sir, but it's not.
Well, okay. Thank you for your comment. My question about 4.50C was at the end. It says, well, first it says if an applicant doesn't respond to your questionnaire within 60 days, the determination will be suspended. Maybe you changed this since the earlier version, but I know there was a point where I was concerned. The next sentence says the positive determination maybe it said will be reinstated upon receipt of the completed questionnaire. My thought is, if you get a questionnaire that all of a sudden raises red flags, you shouldn't be reinstating. And do you believe the use of the word may gives you the discretion to say, no, we're not going to reinstate it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we
thank
do.
you.
Are there any other questions on the rules? If not, we can go to the procedures. Okay, so we bring both the procedures for administrative review and the informal conference for your approval as well, since they're both under the committee's purview. Again, I'll just highlight a couple of things really quickly. In the informal conference one, so right now the way that it reads is that in-person informals are the default, but we can use remote for good cause. So we're just flipping that. The reason being we've been conducting informal conferences since the start of the pandemic. We feel like it's been working well, and at the request of the committee members are trying to explore now using the video recording option on Zoom. We did find there is a local option to save, so that the other concern that we have is maybe the bandwidth part, so we're going to test that before doing it live with applicants. But so just that, that is, we're looking at that right now. And then in J, we just made the same change to the wording about what the applicant can provide to reflect the changes we made to the rule. And then one other comment we received was that N specifically deals with denial letters, because all of the other letters are currently sent electronically right now. Denial letters are the only ones that are sent via US mail. We're still sending an electronic copy as a courtesy because there was some inconsistency with the US mail during the pandemic. So this will just eliminate the need for us to send that copy, hard copy. We'll just send the electronic copy, still have the proof of service on there. And I think we just made that similar change in the administrative review procedures. Did you have anything to add, David? Any questions?
You have a question?
Tara, just a quick, I know how, not to be a old boomer about this, but I know how we're moving everything online, including our own meetings here. But I feel like for something that is this important, you lose a little bit of the gravitas to the process when you allow the applicants to participate remotely. I feel like there is some benefit to requiring, because generally the applicants that you're setting for informal conferences, there are significant concerns. I mean, it's such a small percentage of the applicants that you see. Don't you feel that there, or you don't agree that there would be a benefit? I just think the solemnity of the proceeding suggests that that's a better route to take.
So
I don't know.
Start and then we can chime in. I think that we found it to be pretty successful. We just still have in the provision and the procedures that for good cause that one of the staff panel members at least can attend with the person and attend with the applicant in person. I will say, I do understand there's the body language, you're only seeing so much of it, but also not just for staff, but for the applicants. It seems like the scheduling part of it has been better for them. They're not having to drive or fly into San Francisco or Los Angeles, or they're able to take this from their home, their office. I don't know how that's working with defense counsel's fees, but they also, defense counsel now is appearing mostly via Zoom as well. So we haven't received any negative feedback as far as I can recall, but I think from my perspective, I don't think that we're losing anything in the process. It seems like it's been working fine for us.
Yeah, I appreciate the concern, Robbie. I can tell you that it certainly seems like the applicants that we talked to on Zoom approached the informal conference with, with the appropriate gravitas, as it were. We did them live in the past. We've been doing them on Zoom for a while, and I just have not noticed any sort of difference in the way the seriousness with which the applicants, engage in the proceeding. And then, taking overall balancing the equities, there are other reasons that we think it's beneficial to have them online. For one thing, it is true that some applicants, not everyone lives in San Francisco or LA. Some of them have to fly from across the country. That's easier for some people than it is for others. And frankly, we can probably do more informal conferences, which benefits all applicants because it sort of makes the process more efficient.
Robbie, I want to add that we did have that discussion with Vince and myself and Kara and David. And I think a change was made in the language so that it isn't a requirement that the interviews be on Zoom, held virtually. I believe the language says may.
Well, no, this language, it says will. So this language turns it in reverse. It will be remote unless you request otherwise. So the default now is the opposite of what it was pre-COVID. So that's, I guess
In
that.
our discussions, we agreed to will. I don't know what happened in the meantime, but we agreed on may rather than will. And then the following sentence says that that the applicant can request.
They must demonstrate good cause. Yeah, they must demonstrate good cause if they want to be in person. And so it's the opposite of what I'll just read you the sentence that we're talking about. The proposed revisions indicate that the applicant will attend the conference remotely unless they demonstrate good cause to attend in person. So I feel like it should be the opposite, that they will attend in person unless they want to appear remotely. And if they say they're out of town or any of the things David just mentioned, well, then, okay. But I feel like we, having been around long enough to have attended these conferences myself, back when we were allowed to do that, I thought there was real benefit to seeing the applicant and having them make their case. I think that was, that was very impactful for us. Now I'm a judge. I've been doing hearings by Zoom for 2 years, and I think honestly, although it's much more convenient for me, and I hear twice as many cases, or I'm requested to by my court, I think something's lost. And I know what a small percent you require these conferences, or you offer that, and I think we should. I would rather see the language in reverse. Let the applicant say they want to appear by Zoom, and then you can grant it if you want. But why not make the default? I don't know how you do it. Do you two set aside 1 day per month or 1 day per week to?
Can I address Dolores' comment and then I can address that?
Okay.
Acknowledge you're correct that we did talk about this in our meeting, but so the initial language was that they must participate remotely. And so that's where I think we changed it to will versus must. I know there was another one that we talked about maybe, but I don't think it was this one specifically because we didn't make any changes to this after.
There was something else that was a must and should.
Yeah.
So.
But will and must is a good one.
Well,
It's not may.
arguably, must has more of a sort of a command. I don't know. In context, I think that will and must can be different.
But
One's not permissive, and it's not a difference between.
No, that's true. That's true. She was just clarifying. I think we had a conversation with respect to other rules about the word may, and with this one, it wasn't. It was will and must, and then.
so it sounds like Dolores is asking us to consider. Hey, what are your feelings with that?
What were you asking, Dolores? Because
I think I was with your thought that it would be not required. The applicant would not read this as a requirement that the interview be held remotely, and that only by requesting, special request, would it be in person.
But now, Tara, tell me,
I remember, I recommended giving them a choice.
how do you schedule your,
So the panel's typically myself, David, and then one of the two supervisors. So we've been doing it quarterly. So because we've been doing it remotely, we've been able to do typically 3 to 4 days of conferences because we do it, all day. We do it from 9 a.m. until at least 4 p.m. and then if we have discussion items. So we're doing them almost every week, or so a lot of the times it's every week, or there's one break, like 1 week per month where we're not doing it. But if we go back to the old way, we have to, I think, probably do it only 2 days per week. But previously we were doing it 1 day in San Francisco and 1 day in Los Angeles.
so Dolores, remember when we used to do them, we would come into the bar office and wouldn't we do like 6 or 7 of them in one setting?
Well, several,
Yeah,
all day.
right. Back when we were participating in that. Well, I just, I think the applicants should have an opportunity to put their best foot forward. I don't think the bar staff scheduling should determine how we do it, because it's so impactful. And, most applicants do not succeed through that process, right? They're either deferred or sent to
Well, the bands is not a denial, the bands typically.
right. Well, but you know what I mean? It's not, they don't pass. I think it's very few that there are no restrictions. They're just given the opportunity. Okay, you win. Your moral character is that. I don't know if that's ever happened with any of the ones that I've reviewed.
Oh,
Well, I think the reason is that we tried, I mean, so hopefully if we can improve it on the paper base without having to invite them to informal, that's where we give them a positive. And that's why I think once we get to the informal stage, that number of straight positives or clears is reduced, but I mean, there's a lot of abeyances. I mean, that's what I think firmly reflected in the staff determination.
Oh, sure. And that is, somewhat of a, a positive for the applicant because they've got a route to success. But I think that the number is small enough that we should be able to conduct those in person. Donna, what do you think? Because some of us are old school that used to do them, and we know the value of seeing the applicants ourselves and, shaking their hands and trying to make them, comfortable. And, it's a pretty grueling process. Generally, you're unearthing some pretty negative things. If you got that far to an informal conference, some are have been incarcerated and have very significant emotionally charged things to discuss. I mean, we're back to in-person things. And I feel like that should be an in-person thing unless there are extraordinary, exactly what this language is, but in reverse. If you're out of state or you can't easily get to LA or San Francisco, okay. But if you can, you should have that opportunity to meet your accuser, so to speak, and state your case.
Let me ask, we're down to nearly a bare quorum. So is this maybe one of the items where we can't come to a conclusion today and we should put it over until December when, for instance, more of our members are present?
I think we could always pull out the other items if this is the only one that's of concern. I think we could put the informal conference procedures over to December if that's acceptable and still vote on the rules and the procedures for administrative review, because I don't think those ones sound like they're an issue.
Well, but wouldn't you want to wait until you have the whole package to put it out for comment? No?
Well, if only the rules are going out for public comment, the procedures stop here with the
Oh,
committees.
okay, I see, okay.
I have just a simple question. How many informal conferences do you do a month?
So we are typically between 15 to 20, where we meet with the applicant in person, or via Zoom.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay, so Robbie, one thought is to put this, because this is not something that's going out for comment, we could sever it and bring it back in December.
Well, do you want to do this? If I'm alone in my view, then I'm happy to be outvoted. I mean, I brought it up because I feel strongly, I know the hour, but you want to do a straw poll and see if anybody else cares about this besides me?
Could I clarify? You're advocating for the keep the informal conferences?
I'm advocating that the informal conferences be in person unless requested.
Okay.
The exact opposite of what is it on the
that's
screen?
what I'm reading. Yeah.
What about sort of something, a compromise, like, because what you're saying is it's in person, and if you don't want to be in person, you got to go through a process of asking. And then the other thing is it's via video, and if you want it in person, you got to go through a process. What if you just make it like a simple, like, okay, they have a choice. It's like, check the box. Do you want it in person? Do you want it on video? You give the applicant the option or the choice without prejudicing what you would prefer them to do. See what I'm saying?
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I do too.
So I don't know what the language might be, but that's what I would recommend.
What else?
And
Are we trying to be done by 5?
No, we're probably done in 5 minutes.
Okay, we need to move along.
Yeah. So you want to table this until?
Well, let's see, you guys want to get going on it. Although this seems to fit in the category we talked about this morning where maybe we need a little more time to think about it. And does this have the urgency that some others might have?
It does not, but I do think Tara is correct. We could separate out any of the procedures from the rules. They're not, this specific isn't mentioned in the rules. You could vote on the rules and we could defer the other items to the next meeting as well.
What's the sense of the group?
So what exactly gets out for public comment?
Just the rules. The other documents are not required to go out for public comment. They wouldn't have gone out for public comment.
Well, that's fine with me. I'll make that motion if we're deferring the other things to.
Okay, can we have the recommended motion up to see what we need to do to it? Okay, well, that takes care of it there. The guy, whatever we're calling the other aspect, the procedures we're not mentioning.
So I'll move the first part, but not the second part.
Okay, so we just make the first motion, yeah.
So I'll move the first motion, but not the second motion.
And I'll second the first motion
Okay.
along with Jerry.
Roll call. Is everyone clear what we're doing?
Yes.
All right.
Dr. Bolton,
Yes.
Robert Brody,
Yes.
Dr. Cow, Alex Chan,
Yes.
Jim Epstein,
Yes?
Kareem Gangora,
Yes.
Dolores Heisinger,
Yes.
Judge Herman,
Yes.
Larry Kaplan,
Yes.
Alex Lawrence, Esther Lynn, Bethany Peak, Vince Reyes, David Torres, Dr. Wilcoxon. The motion passes.
Okay. Okay, next, well, let's see, are we done with the open session? I believe we are.
We are.
Okay, so we're gonna go into closed session. Let's get that set up. And we'll take a brief, less than 5 minutes break while they're doing that. For the public, before we leave the open session, we will keep the open session open, so when we finish our closed session, we can report back to you that we're done for the day. So you can stay on here if you like, but we are going to switch to the closed session Zoom meeting so we can conduct the rest of our closed session business. And just by the way, we skipped the moral character goals as well just now. We'll talk about those in December. Okay, brief break and we'll be back in closed session.
Everyone?
Are we dead?
Almost, about to be.
Okay.
And we are.
Likewise, it was a
We
blast.
only got to be partnered a couple of times.
We'll have some more next time.
So Vince, I'll meet you in the lobby.
Oh, okay, yeah, why don't I go now?
Yeah,
That way.
I'll meet you in the lobby.
I'll call the-
I can look at this one once over. Let me try to.
We're still both of them being-
I use this, well.
It doesn't matter.
Right, yeah.
Are we dead?
Yeah, except that we just have to close down.
You can say we're, that's it. Want to see Kate?
Yeah, right. All of it.
One of us pays for it.
So you said your daughter is 18 now?
I know, crazy.
Yeah. It's not your guess, is it?
Yes, my oldest is 26.
Wow.
And your oldest is 20.
Ready? Okay, this is Paul.
Yeah.
What?
Can you guys back down?
Oh, we're in.
This is Paul Kramer, reporting that the Committee of Bar Examiners concluded its closed session a couple minutes ago, and we've returned to the open session. Reporting that and there being no more business in the open session, we are adjourned. And we have nothing to report out.
Awesome. The end.
Okay.
The end.
The end.
All right.
Well,
We conquered time.